tell us something about the Indus civilization
Mhm.
and how beautiful were those eras? Okay, in what time?
See, one thing, common thing we should not get trapped into
Hmm.
is about the grandiose of the past. Okay. We must never, we are all humans. Human tendencies have always been as it is the past, as it is today.
Yeah.
Okay. So, because why I say this, very many students have a lot of questions thinking that, oh, golden ages पहले थे, अभी नहीं है. Where every phase, every civilization has got a different. We have had a lot of times in the past also. Particular thing that you're raising is about the Vedic civilization, periods of that time. We we definitely we come to know about all these things only by reading from the secondary or tertiary literature.
Yeah.
So definitely populations were less. So their demand, their preoccupations, the day-to-day lives were also very different from what today we are preoccupied with. Literacy was kind of common. That much is very evident from most of our literature that we know about the ancient past. Much against our history books till now, which were informing us saying that education was confined to only an elite community, even in the Vedic civilization. It was not the case.
Hmm.
So we have riches composed by rishis who belong, whose communities we do not know.
Okay.
So literacy was quite common because this crystallization of the caste, so-called caste or Varna Jati thing happens with the age.
Yeah, with that.
After the Gupta age. So at that time we had lot of literacy thing.
How politics and those times?
Well, that's a difficult question to answer.
Yeah.
There were fiefdoms, there were boundaries for each country. Like in the Rig Veda, we first get to see the fights of the clans of kings.
Huh.
Okay, that's how our history book talks about dasas and dasus. And
An idea of boundaries between every kingdom.
there was a fluid boundary.
Yeah.
It was not a official boundary. But my reading is not much into those levels. I cannot tell with confidence about that. One thing which I have done a little bit of reading is the literacy was quite common during that time. And cultivation aspect, there are a lot of controversies. Whether we cultivated rice or whether we cultivated rice was brought in from somewhere. Definitely we had this wheat. Wheat and barley were common indigenous to us. And then of its remnants are even we are able to see it now. So cultivation was quite fairly advanced. We were good at processing metals even during the Vedic
Yeah.
times. Gems, little mining activities, whatever was found under the soil, these are all were pretty much to the refined state.
Currency transformations.
The currency, I don't think there was any because of more of a barter system
Exactly.
where you exchange goods. You know, if I'm good at something, I'm good at making something, I give this, I'll trade that against something else.
Is anything that we have to learn from those times?
Well, how to be in discipline, like perhaps, and to respect each other's.
So to know that there are well structured instructions in those times.
Yes, there were eco-friendly constructions, if you were to call it during in our common modern parlance. It was eco-friendly construction. Like today, I'm sitting in an AC room, which means I'm also polluting and leaving some carbon footprint.
Excellent.
Am I doing something to mitigate or to compensate footprint? So, see, every technology also lays certain limitations for every periods of the era. During that time, they had this heat, Ishtika, what is called, and very close to this place, there's a place called Itava.
Okay.
In fact, the older name of that is Ishtika tree.
Hmm.
And even in Mahabharata, you say that how the Ishtika made in the, it is from that Sanskrit word Ishtika, you get ink in Hindi.
Hmm.
So, they had this process to bake that particular ink. So, it has to be having a particular property. It has to be porous, it has to be insulating. So, those people had worked out perhaps those parameters and they constructed making bricks. They had measurements because the bricks were also having unique measurements.
Okay.
Of length, breadth, and height. Now they have to be arranged. So those things were fairly known to them. They looked up at the sky and made some calculations also. How frequency certain rotations happen, revolutions happen. So those things were also, they were fairly not today.
So,
In terms of managing health, as we see it in Ayurvedic practice, they had fair good knowledge how to manage their own illness, their longevity diseases. The way we see the doctors, they seem to have a fairly good knowledge for their times
in a discipline.
in a structured way.
Exactly. We know that great literature part written in Sanskrit in those things. But they, in after some ages, after many people invaded our country and just they faded off. So, what do you say? What are the lacking because of these invasion on here? These scientific literatures are faded off. How do you
Very true. So we have our libraries. One famous library, I mean, Divyanshu will know it's some place.
Yeah.
Nalanda, which was burnt, and there are records which said it burnt for months together. Okay. Like that, you have different libraries in different parts of the countries which will burn. So that was one, but luckily for us, still, despite that, knowledge survived because it was taken to the memory.
Which era it is happened?
And this was this, but sadly, there is a railway station named after the person who supposedly to have burnt this thing. Which era this happened? Maybe 300, 400 years back. That's all. Okay. But unfortunately, today we have the railway station named after that person. So it's invaders have come and gone. So today, what prevents has gone on us. But this division of states based on language, this was taken up in the 1950s.
Okay.
And ever since then, language chauvinism has happened. And the division of state based on language is a futile exercise. Why? Because in that case, why was Andhra and Telangana divided? Both speak Telugu.
But not on the, we divided on the resources.
That is a different issue. But initial division of states happened based on the language point.
Can you say, yeah.
And the point that I'm trying to drive home is, when you have that kind of a separatism seed sown, you'll always have language chauvinism.
Yeah.
So much so that today we see in Tamil Nadu, anti-Hindi thing. We see same thing in Karnataka, anti-Hindi thing. Bengalis will not accept, Marathis will not accept Hindi thing. So we are now led to a situation where we are fighting against for our own current languages. Okay. Sanskrit. Now it is, according to foreigners, it's a dead language. According to us, it's a living language. Now, the point that I'm trying to make was, even with the existing language which was scheduled in our constitution, the 27, the 28 languages, we are having fights with each other.
Yeah.
Who will take care of this classical language, Sanskrit, in that case?
Yeah.
It is completely left on the individual's interest. Now, unless somebody takes up interest, who will then bother to go for looking at the treasure that are in the stuff of our knowledge, which is written in Sanskrit?
The finding with these languages, what to go great priority to a scientific.
Because that has been the lingua franca of our clinicians or of our researchers in the past, whether we like it or not. And Napoleon won the war. Our lingua franca in the world would have been French.
Okay.
You and I would be speaking French.
Yeah.
Not English.
Exactly.
So the international geopolitical things govern certain dynamics.
Exactly.
That is where we have lost the best because of this division of state in the language medium in the 50s. That Sanskrit has been considered to be an elitist language, and it has been given a motherly treatment. So much so that even in the Hindi belt, you speak a Sanskrit mixed Hindi, people will mock at you. People say you are regressive. आपको उर्दू की ज़बान बोलनी चाहिए. अरे उर्दू की ज़बान बोलने पे जो है वो थोड़ा पढ़ा लिखा जैसा दिखता.
Yeah.
There has been these political interventions have been keeping up. Invaders came and went.
Yeah.
Past 75 years, who is the invader? We have our own parents. We have not taken interest to know it. We are the losers from that. Okay.
You feel because of many languages or certain Dravidian languages are just extracted from the Sanskrit whole.
So this is again going to lead a very political war in the country. Although the belief is that Sanskrit and Tamil are the oldest language and everything is came from it.
Yeah.
Language is like a river. River always changes course. River will never stay in one place. River will keep meandering. Everything it takes it along with itself, purifies, deposits on the sides, ultimately merges with the ocean, right?
Yeah.
Language is also similarly like that. So here, where the source is, which one came from the other one, these are futile exercise which will only make you and me fight against each other and not approach the language the way it has to be approached.
Okay.
Today, as a student of technology, don't you think you are at advantage if you learn Python, if you learn more than one language, C++, many languages if you learn, aren't you better equipped? In the same way, if you learn more human language, are we in any loss? No, definitely no. So we'll have to come out. We should not be swayed by this political argument. We must come out of that argument and learn as many languages as possible. In that aspect, I'm very happy that here in our institute, many students who come from Andhra or Tamil Nadu, by the time they come in third year or fourth year, they are good at Hindi.
Exactly.
That is one more important.
Yes, they speak very well Hindi.
Thanks to some of the colleagues also who take lectures only in Hindi, there are various reasons behind why they take only in Hindi.
Okay.
Because I was in counseling service, many students, I cannot reveal the names of the professor or the department, but one major complaint in their second semester and third semester was, we are sitting in these lectures for 1 hour, we are not able to understand even a single word.
Okay.
Even when told to the respective professor, they were reluctant to engage.
Yeah.
Despite all that, by the time they come to third year, they are good at thinking.
Yeah.
So,
Well, sir, on these 28 language, one language there to speak up overall all states of our country.
Okay.
Is it? Don't you think that's a good idea for our country?
well, what I think is, I'll tell you some history for it.
Okay.
Can you guess who was the person who fought tooth and nail to bring Sanskrit as a national language for the first ever time? Very a wild guess to make Sanskrit as a national language. Baba Rao Bhimrao Ambedkar. Okay.
Achha.
And the other person who really put it down, I don't want to take the name because that will be very controversial.
Okay.
Okay. But you can dig up the history and find out.
Oh yeah.
This is also very non-intuitive. I'll never guess this person's name, but you know this person. But I don't take the name on camera. Okay. This person go down, put his strength down, and did not allow Sanskrit to become the national language. Okay. What was the history? Okay. Fast forward few years, and Pandit Shankardev Sharma became the president of our country.
Okay.
There was once again this talk which came up. Then Sanskrit be the national language.
Yeah.
But then it didn't take up that much momentum and it was not taken up. It swayed back again.
What do you think? What it might be stopped it to become the national?
That I do not know. During Shankardev Sharma's time, it didn't gain momentum by first time. I am not aware of those facts.
Yeah.
But during when Ambedkar ji raised it, who posted those details are known. But I fear my life. Jokes apart, controversial name I don't want to take. Whether we need a national language, my personal opinion now, see, the concept of nation is a very, very recent concept. After the Industrial Revolution, the concept of nation started with Germany.
Exactly.
When they wanted to unite their 30 plus kingdoms, they wanted to bring it under one, that's a Deutschland it is called. And Wilhelm Kaiser, he is considered to be the Iron Man who kind of unified it. Okay, because he was called Iron Man, our Vallabhbhai Patel is called Iron Man.
Yeah.
And very interesting, I'm digressing. Kaiser is cognate with the Sanskrit word Kesar and Kesari. And what is that? It is lion.
Okay.
So that Kesar of Sanskrit becomes Kaiser in German. And he is Wilhelm Kaiser. Okay. So concept of nation is very new. As new as 200, 150 years. So when you have a nation, then you need to have symbols. This is my national symbol, like national animal, national anthem, national bird.
Yeah.
So national language, national song, national anthem. So all this is product of that national identity. Okay. So whether we like it or not, India is a civilizational country. civilizational nation. It is not still a nation defined by the boundary which is also disputed. But even when it was a civilizational nation, right from Afghanistan in the Middle East till Cambodia or Indonesia in the southeast, one common language that was Sanskrit, whether we like it or not. So much so that the language Sanskrit's orthography, which is called the script, inspired the Korean orthography. Korean letters, they had documented history. Korean scholars say that they have adopted the same thing that is done in English. Sanskrit. And that, if you look further back, Japanese, they have hiragana and katakana, older and the newer one. The older one is again inspired by the Sanskrit orthography. So, that's why I said national language, when you track it, it's different. On a civilizational nation, when it's with such large boundaries, you can never imagine, even in China today, even though it's same, the Chinese spoken in the east part of China is very different from the west part of China. They can read, but they cannot understand each other. It's the Telugu script. Arabica can read, but cannot make out what it is. Or vice versa. Similarly, sequence with Chinese, it's the same, but these languages will not speak the same language. Such was not the case with Sanskrit. It was uniform, although differently captured in different scripts. Your today Cambodian script is entirely Sanskrit-based script. Your Simhala script, so entire South Asian script, its language is influenced by Sanskrit.
Is anyone now stopping or raising Sanskrit to be at the national level at these times?
I'm not aware of, put it this way, but there are a lot of people who are against it. That much I'm aware of.
You know what against it?
Who are against it, there are very many. But I don't think so today it will be in a position to reinstate Sanskrit as a national language.
You know, these guys, whenever Hindi people will going to a sound in a particular state, they are getting not to speak Hindi here.
So I say language chauvinism is always bad.
Things like
you are a Telugu speaking person. Or if I force from you to learn Tamil or any language, if I force you, naturally you will be reluctant and you will revolt. Even though you may have the tendency to learn a language and adapt to it, if say something is forced on you, there's a natural tendency to revolt. That's very common. It's a human tendency. Yeah. So language should not be enforced. That is my point. It should have been organically integrated.
right, it's how to learn whatever the language is.
That's why I'm thinking language-based division, that chauvinism brought in a lot of problems. Before that, I mean, can you believe Urdu and Sanskrit? How do you keep them? Do you keep them next to each other or opposite to each other?
They are
Poles apart.
poles apart. That's great. Yeah.
I tell you one small poem. I hope I'm able to recollect it correctly.
Okay.
एकस्मिन् दिवसावसान समये
Okay.
मैं था गया बाग में काचित अत्र कुरंग बाल नयना गुलतोड़ थी खड़ी काम दृष्ट्वा नव यौवना शशिमुखी मैं मोह में जा पड़ा.
Okay.
Last line, तत्सीदामि सदैव मोह कनघो आदिल गुजारे शुकर. The first half is Sanskrit. एकस्मिन् दिवसावसान समये मैं था गया बाग में. एक दिन शाम को मैं बगीचे में गया. वहां मैंने एक नव युवती को देखा. देख के ही मैं आकर्षित हो गया, लेकिन कुछ सलीका है, इसीलिए मुझे उसे देख करके ही अपने मन को संतुष्ट कर लेना चाहिए. First half is in Sanskrit, second half is in Urdu. Yeah. So we had such compositions in our country. Okay. My mother tongue is Tamil. There is Arunagiri Nathar, one poet. He composed where one word is in Tamil, next word is in Sanskrit. Then one word is in Tamil, next word is in Sanskrit. Okay. So we have had such history in our past where Sanskrit was intertwined in every facet of our life.
Even some sort of places, even in Telangana, I'll observe that some sort of Urdu words are placed in between the Telugu words.
Those are very common to be found.
Many languages.
So if there is enough momentum, then we can perhaps, the question that you raised is somebody raising for Sanskrit national language. Unfortunately, none of us declare Sanskrit as our mother tongue.
Yeah.
So census takes into account only how many speakers are there. So that number is what is going to play a major role in creating some momentum for certain language should be considered as a national language
Majority.
by the majority.
Makes sense.
And then we are divided amongst ourselves.
So
It's the unfortunate part of it. But anyway,
you are very good at many languages. How many languages do you speak?
well, I cannot confidently say how many languages I can speak, but I can say enough that
What you like to learn?
all southern four languages I'm
Oh,
quite
Malayalam.
Malayalam, Kannada, Tamil.
Okay.
Bengali I can read, I can speak, I can understand. Other North Indian languages I can understand. If it is spoken,
Whatever you talk about Hindi, it's really pure. I just
I try to speak as much pure Hindi as possible.
Okay.
Otherwise, there is no.
That's good, sir. So, just tell us one of the best learnings from Mahabharata.
Okay. I mean, it's a tough question because there are many aspects of the story are appealing, definitely.
Yeah.
One thing I must tell you very common, the literature that you mentioned, our culture never had this concept of redaction. Redaction is a technical term. What does it mean? See, Ramayana was written long back, perhaps many several centuries back.
Yeah.
So it's not that it was once written and everybody made a copy of it and it survived us till this time. No, it is not like that. So Vemana wrote it in, right? Yeah, Tulsi ji wrote it in Hindi and in the local Bhasha. Tulsi wrote Ramayana in this very city.
Yeah. Okay.
Then in Kundanam wrote it in Malayalam, in similar Ramayana. Right, that every region of our have written the Ramayana.
Yeah.
And at every different point in time. Okay, so now if at one point of time, certain thing was controversial, at a later point of time. Okay, like today, if we were to discuss certain points, today, according to today, they be controversial, given the narratives. We were never shy to remove that portion for the future generation. So this removal is called redaction. Okay, this is much against those traditions which are focused on a single book. Okay. This aspect of our literature still fascinates me very much more.
The extra portion was written or the
extra portion gets written. What I meant to say is, maybe I'll repeat again. Say at 500 years back, Agni Pravesha of Sita, it's a normal thing. Today, if you say the entire feminist morcha will start, it's very masochistic, it's misogynistic, it's all anti-feminist, anti-women, all those things. So now, if I am succumbing to all these feminist arguments, I may have a feeling, इस portion को हटा दोगे. Right, don't you feel that? Like, when you're recording, suppose if it's something is controversial, you will edit that portion and then you will upload. So that in the future, we will get not this kind of bricks. We will think that we may remove that portion. Yeah, right. This removing process is called redaction.
Yes.
That never happens in our literature.
Okay.
Because we have killed north, south, east, west, wherever we go. We have felt this has come down to us. Perhaps we are not in a position to understand it. Another example I'll tell you. A very meeting of Rama and Nishada. That's also a very controversial topic over a different period of time. We are not removing a portion from the Ramayana. See, if today we feel that is something controversial there, we are not in a position to remove that portion, to pass it on to the next generation. Right? Otherwise, Ramayana would not have survived these many years as it has come down to us. So, this absence of redaction is the most fascinating aspect for me. Exactly. I will contrast this with an example. I know that you have heard the novelist, Umberto Eco. He's an Italian guy.
Okay.
One of my most favorite novelists.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay.
And if you like reading Dan Brown,
Okay.
Dan Brown you must have heard. Right. The series became very popular quite a few years back.
Okay. Okay.
Dan Brown's series of novels. I think gone is a generation where students couldn't read novels. I think everybody is now used to OTT platforms and other things.
Okay.
But Dan Brown is good. But for me, I have read Dan Brown, I have read Umberto Eco. Umberto Eco is 100 times more than Dan Brown.
Okay.
This very famous novel, The Name of the Rose.
Okay.
There's a movie also around it.
Acha.
It's a very big novel.
Okay.
And the climax of that novel, if I were to reveal it, it's an open thing,
This is the venue.
is that with the father of the church, the main in charge of the church,
Okay.
is swallowing the page of that particular text where it is mentioned about Jesus indulging in comedy.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So according to that tradition, comedy is meant for, it's a satanic virtue. It's a satanic trait. Comedy. Comedy should never find its place. Okay. So this is a 12th century monastery, and this is only literature available where this monastery has it, where it is mentioned Jesus indulging in comedy. And then this man is, whole novel is about protecting this information. Finally, that monastery is put in fire. This fellow also gets into fire, but still he eats that thinking that that literature has to burn with him.
Oh no.
Okay. So this is the highest version of redaction.
Yeah. That's crazy.
We never have, even if so many controversial that we never redact.
Redacted it.
We will add according to our own imaginations
Yeah.
from place to place. Like Kumbharamayanam of Tamil will not have certain episodes which Tulsi Ramayana has, although both were only 200 years apart.
Many people write it.
So they will have their own imagination. That point is not a problem. But then what is actually the problem is, that is the recent thing, the wokeism that happens. Wokeism, there is a Sitayana instead of a Ramayana. Writing wokeism.
What is that?
Wokeism where you want to challenge everything that has come down to your tradition. You want to announce to the world that you are a non-conformist.
Okay.
You are unique.
Okay.
All these things are wokeism.
Acha. Okay.
Where you have instead of Ramayana, you have a Sitayana, where everything is written from a feminist perspective.
Okay.
These things are bullshit. So they are very much against the tradition. So,
Let's end that. Can you suggest us some of the books from your readings?
okay. Books have been my friends for long, but every book has got its own importance.
Yeah.
One book I also already said, it depends on what you want, which subject you want to really explore.
Yeah.
If you want to really get into science, I would say Feynman's lecture. Every student should. Feynman's lecture.
Okay.
But the very style with which it is written. At least I have got impressed by reading. That's why I'm saying you must read. One of the favorite, instead of saying the best, I would say one of my favorites in the field.
It's good.
R.K. Narayan.
R.K. Narayan. Okay.
When, I mean, these novels are again fictions are very extremely good. The other name I took, Umberto Eco, his writings also I like a lot. If you are appreciating pseudo fictions, they will be like not entirely fiction, but something related to history, but not completely factual.
Okay.
Then, if you want to get into our Indian tradition, knowing about Indian past, I would definitely recommend Dr. V. Raghavan. V. Raghavan.
Okay.
He is an amazing person who has written a lots and lots of, yeah, I mean, depending on the subject. And currently, who is available amidst our presence, Professor M.D. Srinivas. Okay. He and along with him, J.K. Bajaj, Professor J.K. Bajaj, they have written lots of books, which gives us a perspective of how India was, how India is, and how India is going to be. Okay. It's M.D. Srinivas and Professor J.K. Bajaj. Their combined books are also very good.
On the Itihasas and Puranas?
Okay, V. Raghavan. He is best. He is best you can read. And the state from where you come from, Satyanarayana. Where you have heard his name.
Yeah.
R. Satyanarayana. Okay. I mean, and the place from where Divyanshu comes.
Yeah.
Kavi Kokila Vidyapati.
Vidyapati, okay.
Okay. I mean, I informally ask the students who come from Darbhanga, from Mithila, have they heard the name? Two names
Okay.
have they heard. One is Vidyapati, and the other one is Vachaspati Mishra.
Okay.
These two are the giants from here, Mithila, Mithil region, which is not very far from here.
Please say about Ardhashastra.
No, it's a treasure book. I have not read it completely.
Okay.
The second chapter of it is what I have done deep studies.
Okay.
That concerns with metallurgy, material science.
Wow. Okay.
Because Arthashastra, although it is a book of political science, he is advising the king of how to maintain the welfare state.
Exactly.
So he need to account for all the sources of income.
Hmm.
So resources, natural resources are the primary sources of income. And their metals, minerals, gems are the primary resources. Yeah, that he describes it in the second chapter. So there, it's a good book that you can also read. But on that note, the language of Arthashastra, we have lost it. Okay, even though it is in Sanskrit, it's a very it's a different Sanskrit. He has invented a lot of new words of which we have lost certain meanings today. I am dealing with only one shloka of that second chapter. For the past 3 years, I've sat with half a dozen Sanskrit scholars worth their names. Okay. We are still not able to understand the meaning of that thing, verse, which has got to do with the purification of silver. In that one verse, one word appears 5 times. And we are not able to decode what that really means. So that is the state of affairs with respect to Shastra second.
Yes. Great. Below that, you are much interested in the laser spectroscopy and Raman spectroscopy. So, just explain that how spectroscopy works.
Yeah, I was trained in laser spectroscopy. It is called laser spectroscopy in supersonic jet condition.
Okay.
This was in IIT Kanpur. So to tell you the very nutshell what is that condition is, imagine a temperature of 10 to 20 Kelvin,
Okay.
but still in gas phase.
Okay.
So that is the beauty of supersonic jet expansion.
Okay.
Because there's the Mach number is associated with this jet speed. So with vacuum, if you are able to create Mach number 6 or above, you have a supersonic jet condition. And under such condition, you get temperatures as low as 10 to 20 Kelvin, yet the molecule is in the gas phase.
Okay.
And you do spectroscopy then. Basically, what is spectroscopy? It's the interaction of electromagnetic radiation with matter. And you study the radiation after the interaction to know the properties of that matter.
Okay.
So I was trained in that field for my PhD in IIT Kanpur. Then I also worked in astrochemistry. This is an application of the same thing.
Okay.
Try to simulate those molecules in the lab which are probably found in interstellar medium, ISM, which is called. Because from the telescope, whatever spectrum they collect, if you're able to generate one molecule and match with that spectrum, we can say, okay, this is a molecule that is formed in the interstellar medium.
Okay.
So I had worked for a long time, in one molecule. I was chasing behind a molecule, the C3H2, which is quite a rare molecule, but I was not successful in that. Then having got bored in this field, I switched over to dense phase spectroscopy, that is Raman imaging and spectroscopy. There I found it's mostly application oriented work where it can be applied all the way from archaeology to zoology from A to Z.
Raman imaging is also interdisciplinary.
Of course.
So, yeah,
It's good.
linked with the biology.
Well, that's what I said. It can be applied from archaeology to zoology.
Oh.
So wide spectrum A to Z you can apply it. I was trained for medical diagnostics using Raman imaging during my course. That is, before even cancer gets manifested, the tumor stage.
Okay.
Can there be any marker by which you can there be any Raman marker by which you can detect the onset of a tumor?
Okay.
Whether it becomes benign or malignant, then the treatment course can be changed accordingly.
Yeah.
So I was trained in that for a couple of years in Germany. So by coming back to India, there are only 2 labs which do similar kind of work. I was not prepared to venture into similar thing. But for me, application of Raman imaging seems more fascinating. So I'm continuing to work on that area.
What are the aspects that computational chemistry is showing in present point?
Yeah. Computational chemistry, I'm basically trained as an experimentalist.
Okay.
And many times anybody who deals with any instrument, you know that the instrument will never ever cooperate all the time.
Okay.
Be it even a camera or even that standy support, instruments are bound to fail. So in my PhD training, in our supervisor's lab, it was such that when the instrument is not working, you better do computation. So that's how I was introduced to computational work. It's not that we do pen and paper calculation. Okay, I am not trained in that. We do box calculation in terms of looking at the structure, computing the structure of the molecule. So whenever instruments are not working, when I am not doing experiment, I was supposed to do computation, and that also became my second passion for research. Okay. So after coming back to India, that was very easy. That was a low hanging fruit by which I can start my research. So I'm glad that one PhD student graduated from here on computational work, where she looked at the sulfur-centered hydrogen pod. So whenever you do a PhD, you will always underrate your work. Yeah. And others' work seems more fascinating to you. Exactly. So I mean, there are, with every student that I got to work at, three students have, I would say four students have graduated with three full-time as a supervision, one is a part-time. Okay. But this part-time student who did with me, his results were slightly different from what I was mainstream doing. And that introduced me to a new field of research called traditional medicine. So the kind of work that student did, he's actually trained a doctor in traditional medicine, who came and joined me for PhD. Okay. And with working with him, he brought in a very complementary set of knowledge that I didn't have. And I was having certain knowledge that he didn't have. So that combination worked really well. Okay. So the summary is he prepared certain drugs which are prescribed in a traditional medicine repertoire. And I had to characterize them and see what is the efficacy of those. So in that way, there were a lot of interesting results that we got to see in the traditional medicine area.
So what are the experience and influences that you notice from there and here?
Well, every place is different. Exactly. Where I was as a student, okay, and students' perspectives are always different from a faculty member's perspective. Here I am as a faculty member. So that place as a student had its own positives and negatives. This place as a faculty member, I am seeing it is having both positives and negatives. So I concentrate on positives only. I would say prior to IIT Kanpur, I was in a hostel for almost 7 years prior to even IIT Kanpur. Okay. And that was more or less like a military regime. Hey. So you had very strict protocols of when to wake up, when to sleep. Every movement of our daily activities are fixed prior to my IIT Kanpur days for 7 years. IIT Kanpur was another world altogether different because there it was, we were like let loose. Me coming from that conservative strict military regiment background into this where the degree of freedom is infinite, it was a cultural shock for me. Okay. But I would say that opened up my mind because I have experienced both the end of the spectrum as a student. Where IIT Kanpur, what I really saw was the student-teacher interaction was really very healthy. Hey. You had ample freedom where the student could just walk up to teachers' cabin or apartment, discuss academics, personal life, which I mean, until this day, I would say, okay, I didn't find it here. And this is the first time where I'm seeing a student is coming and taking interest in knowing about the teacher or about this stuff, which is a welcome change, I would say. So there are other things where I would say IIT Kanpur was far ahead in terms of the IIT culture. And here we are catching up to that perhaps now. You may ask, what is that IIT culture? Okay. It is non-hierarchical, okay, where you had freedom to discuss what you really want. And academics was at the forefront, all said and done. There was enjoyment, merrymaking, all those things were there, but academics was at the forefront. Exactly. And there was no holds barred to have it, engage in academic discussion at whatever place, whatever time. That was not kind of preventive. But here what I found, perhaps maybe lacuna of my teaching skill or my way of interacting with students, there is a lot of gap between the teacher and the student community. Exactly. Which is not, I'm not generalizing it, I'm only saying, taking from what I have experienced. So I am giving it a benefit of doubt that my approach would have been wrong. Okay. I still see there is enough gap where the teacher are looked upon as really good. But students go see program karke jane ka, ये रखते हैं वो मिल के बात करने का उनका
only high-wise are
हाई फाई या
what is the changes we can bring for to more interested to with these like whatever.
wonderful question. There are gems of among my colleagues. There are gems of people who are coming from various parts of the not just the country, but various niche ideas. Each one is bringing.
Yeah.
Be it in their own research field or be it in their personality also.
Yeah.
There is a performance level flautist in our campus. There's a performance level singer and a Veena player in our campus.
Right.
There are n number of people who can give vocal to the performance level. And bathroom singers are many. And I'm not really having into account, but even at a performance level, singers are there amongst us. There is a music club which engages students. So if only there could be some kind of an interaction between both parties could learn from each other because the younger generation will know much far better in terms of the contemporary things. The older generation will have some experience.
Okay.
Each one can complementarily gain from each other. It should not be just one way. Monotonic flow is not what is envisaged. So some of my colleagues are really open-minded, they're willing for it, but they don't find an avenue. Perhaps your avenue through this kind of a venture would make them also
Thank you so much.
for it.
It's a great thing, and thanks for the appreciation. And the thing is, come to the research part. We know from the ages, computational chemistry or the spectroscopy, whatever it is, you know about the Asian Indian science very well. We know about it. Can you tell us what are the changes in the chemistry department of chemistry? What are the things happened from the ages from ancient India to this modern era?
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a small question, but
Hmm.
it requires a larger lecture, kind of a long series.
Exactly.
But I'll keep myself very short. So whatever chemistry I do for my living, bread and butter, and whatever so-called quote-unquote Indian chemistry are very different.
Hmm.
Whatever chemistry I learn, I teach, I do research, it is a very fairly recent chemistry,
Oh yeah.
maybe for the past 150 years or so. So ever since the Industrial Revolution or European Renaissance, you have had a lot of changes in various fields.
Okay.
After the Renaissance, which is the end of the age in the Europe, then they had something called a dark age.
Okay.
That's why they had a Renaissance. And with the Renaissance came a lot of changes in the field. It's roughly the 18th century. Coinciding with that is the Industrial Revolution. Prior to that is the French Revolution. Okay.
Okay.
So they have created a narrative as there has been paradigmatic shift after the 18th century. That has not been the case in our country because until say perhaps the first millennia, we were more or less independent.
Okay.
And until the first half of the second millennia, they believe we were contributing to 1/3 of the world's GDP.
Exactly.
We were contributing 33% nearly global GDP until 1500.
Yeah.
Now, what contributed to that GDP? As a student of chemistry, I am proud to say that it was our expertise in materials, metallurgy, chemistry that contributed to the GDP. But that was in the first 1.5 millennia.
Okay.
And then, because we were colonized first by the Islamic invaders and by the Britishers, our vicissitudes in terms of academic or research engagement in our ways took a jolt. And then we had to adopt the Europeanized
European.
education
culture.
since the middle of the 19th century. And that is where it is very, I mean, I know that you people, students, really read about Malviyaji or not. The very purpose for which he created this university, BHU, as a consequence of his participation in the Industrial Commission, he wanted parallelly to have both traditional education and the European education. Okay? It is
Included in one university.
same university. That's why he built. It is the first ever residential university in the whole Asian continent. And this is a statement. He wanted his students to handle lathe in one hand and do Sandhya Vandana with the other hand.
Okay.
But today what we hear,
I went to Malviyaji also. We did a documentary on Malviyaji. We didn't went to this fact that he wanted to bend these both.
that's why in the Pulagit, if you see Pratichi and Prachi ka Sangam,
Okay.
Purana or Adhunik ka Sangam,
Okay.
that is where Dr. Shanti Swarup Bhatnagar amalgamate the vision of Malviyaji beautifully in that Pulgi. So he wanted a perfect amalgamation of both.
Okay.
Because he and any person believed that if a civilization has sustained for thousands of years, there must be something great in that.
That's crazy.
But in the middle of 19th century, because there was people who were behind getting lock, stock and barrel the European style of education as well as lifestyle, today of which all of us are part of it anyway. Cloth that we wear, the language that we speak are not ours. It's well, we have adapted to it. There's nothing wrong about it, right? Every millennia we keep changing. Change is nothing bad. Changing is good.
Hmm.
But then at the cost of not forgetting what our actual achievements were. So much so that, I mean, last week, NCRT book was released. Class 8 for the first time, it has created news,
Okay.
controversies in several media.
Okay.
For the first ever time, at least kids are coming to know what has been some scientists in our past. Before that, when you were in your 8, perhaps 5 or 6 years back,
Indian scientists.
Indian scientists,
Okay.
you would never get to hear the names in any of the textbook. So at least now we are slightly changing. So to answer your question in a very short way, that traditional chemistry was an over-encompassing, holistic dealing with chemistry. Now what we deal are very reductionist approach. So there is not really one-to-one comparison between the two.
One of the interesting part that I also go through the studies of invention and discoveries and was thanks in 1700 to 1600s. If we, let's say a small idea came in Europe and let's say about the printing press. But yeah, how do the idea came in a small village and it how to spread all over the world? What duration of time it might handle to spread out those technologies to corners of the world? So you had any idea what that how that revolution changes the society?
See, even in us today, there are two things. There are a lot of dimensions to it. So I understand your question well.
Mm.
There have been exponential growth and technological advancements in the last 200 years.
Exactly.
Do you agree? And even in those last 200 years, it's only after the First World War that we had the telecommunication channels getting established.
Yeah.
Had it not been for the First World War, there would not be any telegraphic channels. Copper cables were laid all the way from Germany to London, under the ocean, on the ocean beds. It was for the very first time. Very standard experiment that you guys do, or we did it in our 12th class, post office box.
Yeah.
If you have done that experiment using Whetstone Bridge, R1 by R2 is equal to R2 by R4, 1 by R3 is equal to R4.
Yeah. Of course. So,
Now, detect the null point, if the resistance is not known. When you do that, that was the basis for sending the Morse code.
okay.
So you had some conductor to conduct that. So long distance channels, transoceanic channels were laid after the First World War.
Okay.
And suddenly copper mining became in high demand all over the world.
So it depends on the need. If
Right.
is the need. Yeah.
If there is a need, there will be widespread.
Widespread. In a small duration of time.
Best example is a semiconductor.
Exactly.
And that too after immediately Second World War.
Okay.
Had it not been for the Second World War, the semiconducting industry would not have took the pace as it had taken. So much so that in the 1960s, computers had even subject like chemistry, for which the Nobel Prize was given. John Popel was the first guy to introduce computers and chemistry in the late 50s or early 60s. He got Nobel Prize. John Popel. So the technology spread depends upon the need that you have. You took the example of printing. But widely, why do you think it's spread widely? Can you take a guess?
Because of Bibles were written in the nearly 5 to 7 years.
Yeah, if you're spot on. Because the missionaries' activity moves far and wide.
Exactly.
And when something is coming in as a book form in a very new way, people will be taken up by a lot of excitement. Like today, your iPad latest version is a craze.
Yeah.
But if it is made affordable by everybody, it's like art.
Yeah.
It's just that affordability makes it, like for it to spread. Otherwise, if it's affordable, people's need will Well, any new thing you introduce to the system will fall for it.
Exactly.
So,
Oh, what I want to know that only great people, only the people who have more money at those, they'll get only they'll read by this. But only who have it in a poverty line, they don't read. That's the scarcity of this printing. And also to write, to have to copy that, it takes ages. Yeah. That is what happened. Then after this printing revolution, this technology is much near to everyone. It came to near. It all spreaded all the world in a very speed manner. That is what happened.
that's true, but then this is more applicable to European society, where activities of education, learning was restricted to a very specific class.
Okay.
That what led to the French Revolution also, in a way.
Yeah, yeah.
Bourgeois. But unfortunately or unfortunately, that is not the case in our country, where we depended on our memory.
Okay.
Our organic brain was our notebook, where things were memorized and kept live in the memory for generations together.
Okay.
So much so that we are living in a city where even now, if we go on to some traditional scholar, he'll be able to regurgitate a whole text from his memory.
Okay.
So this has been our tradition of learning, that we take everything to our memory.
Exactly.
And this is nothing to feel shy or feel ashamed of, because in the previous education policy, it was all said that रटना जो है वो गलत बात है, कुछ हद तक गलत है, but कुछ हद तक तुमको रटना भी पड़ेगा.
Exactly.
बिना रटे you will not be in a position to recall many things.
हाँ.
They should understand and then do the.
That's right. Exactly.
Without understanding, if you ratify, then you are as good as.
To know the laws, number of information. तो वो तो रटना तो चाहिए.
सही.
पहले तो समझना मेन थिंग. Exactly.
That way, the Bible or the printing press did not make that much of an impact in the country. It's for making missionary activities more.
Yeah.
It catalyzed the missionary activities.
So let's go deeply into the ancient history, because you read lot of books, right? Is there any type of story that moved you the most, did you the most, thinking level, or any you were from the childhood, or there those type of stories in science or in any history part moved you the most? Any those type of stories?
Well, luckily for me, during my school days onwards, there was an access to the books written by Professor G. Venkatraman, who was the Vice Chancellor of my university. Prior to that, he was the Director of a DRDO lab called Anurag, Advanced Numerical Research and something like that. He had written very small, interesting books called Vignettes in Physics.
Okay.
Those inspired me a lot, and the story of biography of C.V. Raman. In the recent past, that had inspired me a lot. So that's why, luckily for me, in my postdoc, when I got an opportunity to tag along with the Raman's work, I latched on to it. So this is Raman's biographies. If you see that, I would say definitely had an impression on me.
Okay.
So one of his students, whose grandson was my friend at IIT Kanpur, who shared my own name. His name was also Ramanathan. His grandfather was a student of C.V. Raman. So it was the first-hand narration that he got from his grandson. That when his grandfather went to C.V. Raman for getting a recommendation letter, saying that he got a position in London to join, C.V. Raman just for the recommendation letter said, "For your brain, you are good enough to work with me."
Okay, okay.
So like those bold statements by C.V. Raman, the one more story of C.V. Raman is when he joined as director at IIT Bangalore.
Okay.
There is another very famous scientist called G.N. Ramachandran, behind whose name Ramachandran plot, very well used in routine structural determination. Phi-psi plot is based on that. So G.N. Ramachandran was admitted in the electrical engineering department of IISc Bangalore initially.
Okay.
C.V. Raman got to interact with him. And then, without the G.N. Ramachandran's knowledge, without the knowledge of the HOD, he transferred that G.N. Ramachandran from electrical engineering to physics.
Okay.
Then when the HOD of physics and he came to know, they asked him, when he said, for his brain, your department is not good. He has to work with me.
Okay.
So this was C. Raman.
This is amazing.
They invited Nehru, Raman Research Institute. And when he invited Indira Gandhi, he was bold enough to say them that you're ruining science. So when Jawaharlal Nehru, under the leadership of Meghnad Saha, in 1952. There was a genesis of planning commission also. When they started the CSIR,
Okay.
Council of Scientific Industrial Research, under the Meghnad Saha's chairmanship, this was started. You can refer the literature. C.V. Raman has said, this is the graveyard of science. He was bold. I mean, he didn't mince any words. And why did he say that? I mean, those are all different matter of different discussions.
Okay.
Boldness with which he approached things. One student approached him saying that our competitor in America has got a 100-watt light source, whereas we have only a 10-watt light source.
Okay.
Raman immediately said, apply your 100-watt brake. That is more than enough. Exactly. So, there is a video clipping also in YouTube where he says, yes, we are always having crunch of infrastructure, crunch of funding, but we must not always keep Raman got a Nobel Prize working with some very simple instruments and simple facilities. If then the facilities were poor, even now people like me always think the facilities are poor. But it is for us to see what productively we can contribute to. That is what I learned, and that's what inspired me to also set up my career goal. I will say that.
That's crazy, sir. These stories are they're quite interesting. And let's talk about the Indian education system. We know that there are many revolutionary changes are coming in the further years. Even today, there are good things are happening. So, what type of changes that are needed to be changes happen in education system of our India?
I see. Again, this is one question very passionate to me, so I'll give a long answer to it.
Okay.
You must have heard of this Sanskrit shloka, right? Sahana Vavatu.
No.
Sahana Vavatu. Sahaveryam Karavavahe. Right. Can you guess who would have composed it? This is said by the student after having conducted the interview of the teacher and after having convinced that this teacher is good for me.
Okay.
We have come a long way from there. Today, NEP is trying to hint at that. National Education Policy 2020 is in a way trying to hint taking us back at that.
Okay.
In a way, this choice-based credit system. That's the starting point of that. Of course, it came before NEP, but the choice-based credit system is what the student wants to learn.
Exactly.
Focus has been shifting from sage on the stage to teacher, to the students. What the student wants to really learn. Take for instance our own institute curriculum. There is curriculum change also happening now. But most of the students, right from my IIT Kanpur days, which were 22 years back, people would like to get placed in software or computer related jobs. That is a high paying job. No matter which department you are in, you will only try to align your course requirement based on job placement in software or today AIML sector. Yeah. So we must also look at the curriculum must also take its mission to revise that what the student really needs.
Exactly.
That way also onus is on us on that aspect, that we have to give you what you also need at this point of time. But then education for education's sake, if you restrict only to need, it is utilitarian. But education for the wisdom's sake, that is where, but those values are really gone now, frankly speaking.
Okay.
We'll have to really get back to that stage where education is for education's sake and not for job's sake.
Yeah.
As somebody said, education is for life and not just for living.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, we have come to a stage where education is looked upon as just for living.
Okay.
So much so that teachers have become education service provider and students have become consumer. And consumer is the king. So you have to satisfy the consumer. It has come to that stage, but let us hope that we will not degrade to that stage completely with this turn of curricular change, policy change through NEP. We'll have better days.
Through life and living.
Yep.
What is the main difference?
You teach a guy how to catch a fish, or you kind of tell him the wisdom of living the life in a genuine way. I think so. Getting abstract, education for life means it's not God has given you this life so that you will live without, dying at the next moment. There will be some wherewithal that you will be able to look for it. Okay. But if you focus your entire life only for earning money, okay, then it is not much appreciated. That has not been the tradition of our country also.
Exactly.
Adhama dhanamichanti dhanamanav tu madhyama tamaha manamichanti mano hi matam dhanam.
So,
Mana here means knowledge.
okay.
Adhama, the lower ones will only aspire for money.
Okay.
The middle ones will aspire for both money and knowledge. And we aspire always, the greatest ones will always aspire for knowledge.
Yes.
That is what is meant for education for life and not for living.
Fairly. That's great, sir. And it's a good one. And then let's talk about the things like you're a multi-talented person, not only teaching, you're much interested in playing musical instruments like the veena and other instrument. I got to know by researching. So how this shock, interest of getting into musical interest came from?
See, being an Indian, naturally, many things come to us from our tradition itself.
Okay.
I mean, it's an unfortunate thing. Music is actually in the Indian air. Nobody needs a formal training for that.
Exactly.
And universally, music is a very natural human language. When we kids, our mothers sang us to sleep. And if you look at our Indian tradition from Jammu Kashmir till Kanyakumari, in every ritual, if you are a Hindu, in every ritual, music is in a way related.
It's a mandate.
So it's a mandatory part. So it's nothing surprising if an Indian is interested in music. Let me put it that way. Particularly in my case, I was interested in music, and more because I have a PhD. Obviously, the brain goes into the intellectual aspect of music. So I like to read about the theories of music, not just Indian, even Western and Hindustani also.
Okay.
And if you can't sing, better you read and write about music. That's my case. So, and then instrument, particularly Veena, I am still learning. It's not that I knew it.
Yeah.
I'm still learning. It was because it was one of the GI tagged and one of the quintessential uh, product of Tamil Nadu, Tanjavur.
Yeah.
And I was there for some years. I was leaving that place. I thought I should get that, So I'm learning that instrument, and it's one of the if any instrument can be declared as a national instrument, I think Veena is the national instrument of our. That's good. And music, of course, opens up your other side of the brain, as for the neurological research as well. And there are, at least I enjoy all kind of.
Because this is my next question. So how this music is related with the science, or what is the reason that you are in?
But today, in the context when we say music, I am outdated perhaps because the way be the Bollywood music or the Hollywood music or the Western music. I mean, recently, one of the jazz performers was awarded the Nobel Prize.
Yeah.
It was 3 or 4 years back.
Okay.
I forget his name, but it's very popular. But he was a jazz singer. He was given the Nobel Prize. Hardly 3 or 4 years back it was. His name is not coming on my head. But I'm outdated. My engagement with music has been quote unquote the classical music only. And it is as intellectual as you are approaching mathematics. And it has its structure, it has its way to evolve. Those things really naturally inspired me. So my thesis is that if you are good, if you have some intellectual leaning towards any subject, you would gain a lot to learn from music also.
Okay.
Because and especially Indian music, because I mean I cannot go on and on, but I can say it very briefly. The concept of permutation, combination, the concept of ordered listing, unordered listing, which are perhaps high school mathematics, are built in much deeper way in our musical text of 14th century, 13th century, 15th century and all. So that is one aspect which can perhaps interest you. Okay. So there are many asset aspects which are having direct correlation with. I mean, to give the recent examples, I know professor in IIT Madras who does research on this aspect.
Yeah.
Part of it I have also done on the same line, but I have not published it. This is using spectral analysis, particular note. Okay. In our Indian music, every note has to be decorated. The thing is called gamak. Gamak in North India, gamakam in South India. What it means is, if you have a note in a particular frequency nu, it will have all microtones nu plus or minus delta nu. So the range of the delta, whether it is uniform across ragas, across performers,
Okay.
you can do by a simple spectral analysis. Yeah. So this was when 10 years back when our Google gadgets were not updated. But even today, anybody can write a simple code and do a spectral analysis with a simple smartphone. And you can see an answer by musical questions using modern mathematical tool through software. So you can. Well, I was talking to one of the professors of IIT Hyderabad, who is perhaps the second or the third member of Royal Society.
Okay.
He was talking about is using autocorrelation functions to make a machine predict the raga and pose the raga. Today we have come to a stage where in the Brown University there is a PhD thesis submitted last year.
Okay.
The person has made automatic violin player.
Oh.
You sing a song, it will accompany you in the violin automatically, machine learning. He has built a robo, and that robo plays violin based on accompanying the music. With using AI/ML also, yeah, we can do a lot since related with music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. Also, there are many health benefits with the.
Well, on the health benefit side, I have my own reservations. There could be psychological pleasures high, but on the health benefit, there are a lot of claims. I'm aware of them, but I have my own reservations about them.
As a teacher perspective, professor, what are the things you wanted to do? To just what type of advice you wanted to give to a student to just enhance their success?
I'll not say it as advice. I have two kids. One of them is in the class 10th, another one is in class 5th. So I will just repeat what I say to them also.
Yeah.
Okay. You be good at what you're doing.
Exactly.
Whatever you were doing, be good at that, be perfect at that.
Okay.
Because in a country like our country, our country like India, all sudden then population is so high, there's a rat race.
Exactly.
If you are not perfect in what you're doing, you will be left back. So that's a very beautiful word in English called also ran.
Also ran.
Also ran. It's one single word.
Okay.
Then if you want to be in also ran, it's your choice.
Okay.
But you have to accept that. But if you really want to excel, having come all the way till here, you must give the best. Be perfect at what you're doing. Don't try to worry the scale of the thing that you're doing or the magnanimity of the thing that you're doing. Be it even a small thing, but be perfect at what you're doing. That I see a lot of lack because of distractions. That is what is primarily I tell my kids also. If you're learning a poem, learn it perfectly so that no matter in what modulation it is being asked, you should be able to say.
Yeah.
Writing, make it a perfect handwriting. So, but if you don't ask, I don't put the question back on me whether I am a perfectionist, I have to perfectly no.
Okay.
As a teacher, I can only teach that. We cannot say that you're not doing it. That is the role of a guru. I am not a guru, I am a mere teacher who is making my bread and butter by perhaps giving this kind of.
Do better whatever you are.
Do be perfect. Otherwise, the way competition is building up, you will not be able.
That's crazy, sir. So let's come to one overall question, that general question. So, what type of myths that from the ancient time, whatever happened, or today's generation, that one type of myth we should have to avoid in our society?
I mean, since you asked one, I will restrict to one, but I will allow me to give two.
Yeah.
One myth is that let us come out of this faith or this belief that everything was hunky dory in the past. Okay,
Sir.
I have told this in the earlier also in one response. Human mind has remained more or less the same.
Okay.
The manifestation of human aberrations, manifestations of human aberrations have only assumed different forms. Okay?
Yeah.
Otherwise, across different times, the human aberrations have remained more or less the same. The manifestations have only changed. So let us come out of the belief that everything was hunky-dory in the past.
So,
At the same time, this is one extreme of the spectrum. The other extreme of the spectrum is everything was worst in the past.
okay.
Like take science and technology. In the past, everybody was superstitious in India. There was no science and technology. Or so much so that India's contribution to the world in science is zero. It has got a metaphoric meaning also.
Yeah.
On one end, you will say nothing is contributed, everything was superstitious. On the other end, everything was hunky-dory.
Yeah.
As a youth, we must come out of these two traps. We must, now as an IITM, as an intellect, we must look at the case for its merit. Okay? That is one myth that we need to, you will be trapped in both the sides. There are both ideologies working opposite to each other. And one, if you are not diligent enough, you will be trapped in one of these two.
Okay.
So these are the two myths, in a way, I would wanted to say that as a modern contemporary person, you need to be very careful about.
Okay.
Otherwise, we will be making fun of ourselves.
Yeah.
There was a major, the most highest deception nobody else can give you.
Okay.
When you deceive yourself, that's why when you're a child, you are able to change your thought process. When you grow old, what happens is you grow with certain convictions. And when you find that the convictions are wrong, you either get mentally depressed or you get angry or your behavior will completely change.
Exactly.
You are not in a position to perceive that change, the conviction was wrong. Okay? So it is good always to be very open-minded, analyze things for what their merit is.
Okay.
No exaggeration that everything was hunky-dory, neither nothing was there in the vice. Yeah. This is a myth which I am seeing currently pervading everywhere. We should all first try to come out of it. Nothing best to, there's a last question and I can end with one quotation of this quotation. I'll ask you.
Definitely.
Yes, whose quotation is it and when was this composed? Okay.
Okay.
Puranam ityeva nasaradu tarvam. Nachadigravyam navamityavadyam. Santa parikshyan yatarat bhajante muraha parat pratyayane buddhi. I'll translate this in English for you. Everything in past is not good.
Okay.
Everything in the current is not that it is all bad.
Okay.
It is, a discriminating person would only analyze everything and make a verdict, make a judgment.
Okay.
It is fools who will follow the mass.
Okay.
This was told by Kalidasa 1500 years back. Okay. So this is not new that I am trying to say. It's somehow we have lost all these things. Good that through your podcast now, through Mantex, we are able to, at least I am getting a platform to reiterate these things, which are not composed by me. They are 1500 years. It's not our vision of knowledge.
Exactly.
So thanks to you for giving me this platform where I can at least reiterate, ruminate on knowledge.
It's our pleasure. You are here. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
That's a great knowledge you just bestowed on us, and thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.
Hope we'll meet you soon in further years. Thank you.
Sure, definitely.
Thank you.
It was my